Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. Uh, Thank you for joining us. And if you are in Montreal, we're actually having a pretty cold week. We're actually the temperature is set to be lower than historical average every single day this week. So I'm not looking forward to this cold weather, and I'm very jealous of those of you who are in much warmer places like Seattle or Southeast Asia. I'm really jealous of you, so enjoy the sun for me. Today is very special because we have our first ever guest speaker with us today, Joseph To, who will be speaking to us about Mandarin and Cantonese choral music, which is a topic that I am very unfamiliar about. So I'm really excited to learn from his presentation today. And I'm sure that many of you have watched the video. The pre-class activity is a video of a performance of Cantonese pieces by the CU Chorus. And some of you haven't watched, and I highly recommend you to do that after class if you haven't. And for those who have watched it, remember to click this complete button so that I know that you have done the task. So if you haven't done that, please do so after class. Yeah, just a little bit of introduction about Joseph. Joseph, I think I met you in Hong Kong around 6 or 5 years ago in a choral festival in the summer. We were singing a lot of Bach motets and Mendelssohn Three Psalms and whatnot. So yeah, that was many years ago. And Joseph is now based in Seattle in Washington State, and he is, let me check my notes, he's Director of Music Ministries at the Prince of Peace Lutheran Church in the SeaTac area, Seattle-Tacoma area. And he is also a choir teacher in Tukwila School District, which is the most diverse school district in the entire US. So we are very happy to have you today, and welcome, Joseph. Let's give him a round of applause.
Oh wow. Good morning, everyone. So thank you, Mr. Han, for inviting me to share my culture and languages with you. Before we start, I would like to ask: is there anyone have sung a Chinese choral music? Feel free to put in the chat right now. So Mr. Han have sung Chinese choral music, and Elaine have sung that. It is like for us as like non-native speaker to sing Chinese is quite hard, and sometimes a lot of conductors they are not familiar with the language, so they hesitate to pick it. So that's why I am so excited about sharing these topics with you: Mandarin and Cantonese choral music and development. So just like a little bit background information about me. As Mr. Han said, I'm the Director of Music Ministry at Prince of Peace Lutheran Church, and I'm the choir teacher in Tukwila School District, which is the most diverse school district in the US. So today, some topics that we'll focus on or discuss is geographic and demographic of China, languages of China, the Chinese phonological structure. After that, we will like discuss some characteristic between Mandarin and Chinese, and then we'll explore some repertoire and some interesting topics that might interest you. So, China is huge. It's a total area generally stated as like it stretch all the way from like East China Sea all the way to India, which is quite big, and there are 56 like ethnic group. So it's a multicultural country, and there are around like 1.3 billion people live in China. And the language itself, like we always talk about, like we listen people saying like, oh, Cantonese, Mandarin. Yes, those are the language that spoken the most in China, and people notice that Mandarin and Cantonese is the most is the language that most people speak. But there are more than just that. There are 292 living languages, which they mostly categorized under the branches of Sino-Tibetan language. So you can see the Mandarin is from the north, and Cantonese is usually like to be spoken in the Cantonese area, which is the south of China, and Mandarin is from the north of China. And in the early like Chinese government, they choose Mandarin to be the standard Chinese. So nowadays, when you hear like standard Chinese, 普通话 or Mandarin, those are considering the Northern Mandarin Chinese. And today we're going to focus on Mandarin and Cantonese. So when we have to discuss the language, we really need to like have a basic understanding about the phonological structure of Chinese. Chinese language, most of the Chinese language are a monosyllabic tonal language that each Chinese character consists of a combination of vowels and consonants. In other words, like phoneme. So here, this is the Chinese characters of Chinese right here, 中文. And those are each characters consists of a phoneme, which is consonants and vowels. And we really need to understand the phonological structure before we talk about how to discuss some interesting characteristics. So we have like some common ground. So as you can see, we have 字頭 consonant onset, 字腹 vowels nucleus, and 字尾 consonant coda. And I'm going to share with you how we are going to use that. So the phonological structure of each syllables consists of a nucleus, which is 字腹 right here, which is the stage of sustaining the sound. It can be a monophthong, which consists of one vowel. A diphthong consists of two vowels, or even triphthong sometimes in certain variety. And it proceeds by an onset, 字頭 consonant onset, which is it can be a single onset or a consonant with a glide, like G with a W, like W. That is also possible. And sometimes it can, like the consonant onset can absent too, and it's okay. And it, after the four vowels nucleus, after that, it will be in, you will follow by the consonant coda, 字尾. When you use terminology not in English, are you using Mandarin or Cantonese? I'm speaking in Cantonese. But thank you for the questions. Yes, you all feel free to ask questions during the lecture because sometimes it can be confusing as well. So feel free to chat, feel free to have some conversation. So the consonant coda 字尾, which is the stage of tapering the end, and it can be optional sometime as well. But when we are talking about those, we really need to know in Mandarin Chinese or Cantonese Chinese, when you see those like consonant coda, you don't need to be doing those as we are singing in like Roman languages like English. We don't need a shadow vowel at the end. For example, like singing, we will like put ng and then put a shadow vowels at the end to articulate the word. But in Chinese, like mostly in Mandarin Chinese or Cantonese Chinese, you don't really need to those shadow vowels. So here you go. So how can we apply those phonological structure ideas in some examples? So here is the Mandarin examples. And right here, 像, this word means direction. And this transliteration is in Yale romanization of Mandarin. And how can we really apply nucleus, onset, and coda? And here I break it down to SY, which is the consonant onset, R, which is the nucleus, the vowels nucleus, and N is the consonant coda. So when we are looking at this, as I said, NG and N are the consonant coda, and we don't need to rearticulate that when we're singing. And sometimes some scholars, they consider the vowels nucleus and the consonant codas, they will group together. For example, A and G, they will consider as one vowels combination. And as you can see, this one, you will start with S and then Y, S, and then you will mostly stay in R sound, xia, and then you close with and G, xiang, and then at the end you would not do xiang, like when we're doing singing in English, when we're singing English songs. Okay, then how can, oh, by the way, let me go back to the last slide. If you are a choral conductor, I did a research on Yale romanization and how that applied to teaching choral music. I have a very extensive diction guideline that I put together. So if you want that guideline, send me an email and I'm very happy to share that with you. And for that phonological structure, that can be applied in Cantonese as well. So for example here, ba, which means 100, ba. And this transliteration is very different than the one that we talk about, the Yale romanization of Mandarin. This one is
Joseph, are you here? Okay, I trust that he will be back soon.
okay. All right. Can you share? Can you make me to be the co-host so that I can share screen again?
Oh yes, I have to do that again. Okay, let me see where you are, Joseph. I don't find you on the list. Okay, here.
Sorry for the connections.
No worries.
Okay. All right. Where were we? Okay. So let's get faster. This is the most boring part, and I promise you, after this page, we will get to some funny stuff. So, how you will pronounce this word is ba, which is this word we will discuss that the K sound here you don't really re-articulate that. but it indicates that it's an entering tone, which means like a glottal sound that you make. And right here, AA means a long R sound, ba, instead of ba, which they are very subtle difference, but they are different. All right, so before we dive into details about like Cantonese and Mandarin characteristic, let's watch these videos about Chinese as tonal language and how is it so subtle and funny sometimes.
You must think I'm mad pretending to be a chicken. But what I said makes perfect sense to any Cantonese speaker. Still confused? Let me explain. Okay, let's try it one more time. It's not a tongue twister. It means that big brother is taller than the other big brother. Any Cantonese speaker will understand that sentence. Hard to believe, right? This just goes to show the subtleties of tones in Chinese, and that Cantonese is so much fun to learn. There are 9 sounds and 6 tones in Cantonese. Those who have grown up speaking Cantonese don't need to formally learn these sounds and tones. They have unconsciously trained their ears to pick up the differences, and of course, have a chance to use them every day. After all, practice makes perfect. Sounds simple enough if you live and breathe Cantonese every day, but some of the tones could be a bit tricky for a non-native speaker. It's important that you master the tones, because when you use the wrong tone, it can have a huge impact on the meaning, and you'll end up saying a completely different word. For example, go means that one, and go means big brother. Another example, the term 靚女 means pretty girl, but if you say 靚妹, it means young girl or little girl. The same with 靚仔 for handsome boy, or 靚仔 means young man or little boy. It's usually not that big of a deal if you get these tones wrong, but sometimes the wrong tonal pronunciation could be quite embarrassing, or it may land you in hot water. 我肚餓 means I'm hungry, but 我肚屙 means I have diarrhea. Even more confusing, 我 is I, 我 is goose, 我 is hungry, 我 is diarrhea. Okay, ready for more? How about 糖 for sugar and 湯 for soup? 唔該多啲糖 more sugar please. Or 唔該多啲湯 more soup please. 唔該 means please, and 多啲 is more. Let's check out some more tonal blunders. 火雞 is lighter. 火雞 is waiter. So if you're in a restaurant and ask for 火雞, don't be surprised if the waiter brings you a lighter, unless you do mean to ask the waiter to bring you a lighter. In that case, you can say 火雞唔該火雞. Together that means, waiter, could I have a lighter please? And funny enough, Cantonese sometimes say 打火機, which is the proper phrase for lighter. But if you get the tone wrong like this, 打火機, it means hit the waiter. Some local Cantonese terms are easy to mix up and may lead to some amusing or unfortunate misunderstandings. Many of you may know the common local vegetable, choy sum. But be careful when you order a plate of choy sum in a restaurant. Choy sum唔該, which means, can I have some choy sum please? But if you say 除衫唔該, it means take your clothes off, please. Okay, let's recap. 靚女 means pretty girl. 靚妹 means young girl or little girl. 靚仔 for handsome boy. Or 靚仔 means young man or little boy. 我肚餓 means I'm hungry. 我肚屙 I have diarrhea. 糖 for sugar. And 湯 for soup. 唔該多啲糖 more sugar please. 唔該多啲湯 more soup please. 唔該 means please. 多啲 is more. 火機 is lighter. 火機 is waiter. 打火機, a proper phrase for lighter. Don't say 打火機, which means hit the waiter. 除衫, a common local vegetable. But if you say 除衫, it means take off your clothes. Go out and practice Cantonese loudly and proudly, and safely too. See you soon.
So this give us some background information about Chinese as tonal language. Those tones can be very subtle for non-native speaker, and it's quite hard for non-native speaker to pick up those things, and that is the fun part right now. So when we're comparing tonal system of both Cantonese and Mandarin, we always say, oh, Cantonese have some people will say have 9 sounds, or some people will say we have 6 tones. So together we will say 九聲六調, which is if you consider 9 sound, you will consider those entering tone also tone itself. But if you consider usually a lot of scholars just consider Cantonese have 6 tone, and those 9 sound, which can be found interestingly in all the number 1 through 9 in Cantonese, and they can be and I'm going to demonstrate it right now. So I use I use the punctuation here to separate those like categories. And here you go. 394 394 052 786. So the first 3, 9, and 4, those are the high tone. 052, which is the like a medium tone, and then 786, those are the entering tone that we are going to discuss in the next slide. But 786, those are ending with a P, K, or T consonants coda at the end, and that makes that a little bit percussive and have a glottal sound at the end. But here you can see SI, we have 6 tone right here. If we consider only 6 tone with those entering tone, which is P, K, or T, here is the first one, C, which is poetry, C, which is history, C is try, C is time, C is market, C is yes or B. So you can see those are very subtle. And comparatively, Mandarin, maybe you can consider that as easier, but we also have other stuff as well. So in Mandarin, we have 4 tones: ma, 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 ma. So the first one is mother, ma, which is the high tone. And then the second one, ma, which is the high rising one. Ma, which is the falling rising. So you go down and then you go back up, which is horse. And ma, which is from high to low. And those you might be considered as easier because we have less combination, like tone differences in Mandarin. But they also have something called 儿化音, which is a characteristic that bring from the northern Mandarin. And for example, here, sun, in Cantonese we'll call 仔, or like flower. In Cantonese we'll call 花. It's very easy and one word, but in Mandarin we will have to say sun will be 儿子, and flower will be 花儿. And those are the sound that without tone that can be considered or fall under these tone symbols here. And because I told you those number in Cantonese have different tones, and a composer called Tam Tin Lot, Alex Tam, choose the pi 3.1415926 to be the lyrics of this Cantonese choral music. We'll just listen a little bit of this so that you can see how interesting that is, to put like numbers in songs and then we can like compose a song already. So you got the idea. All the lyrics that those the Hong Kong Children's Choir here, they are all like Cantonese numbers, and the conductor here, Alex Tam, who is the composer as well, put all those numbers into music. So you can see it demonstrated the tonal nature of Cantonese, and it's so fascinating, sometimes to non-native speaker. So after this, I want to discuss some characteristic or some between Cantonese and Mandarin. Cantonese, they have 19 consonants, and some scholar will debate it have around 58 to 60 something vowels or vowels combination. And as I said, vowels combination, they consider those ending consonants the here, it include the check tones, or the entering tones, and then the N and NG, those nasal consonants, they will combine the vowels to consider as vowels combinations. And the most interesting distinguished characteristic between Cantonese and Mandarin is the unreleased consonants or the check tone, 入聲字, which is the ending coda with consonant P, T, or K. And here I would like to demonstrate this. So here we have three words. Sub with a P ending means wet. Sud means lost. And sud means jammed. And you don't really need to pronounce, nobody will gonna be pronounced sup or sut. We don't do that. But instead of that, you kind of swallow that consonant so that it create a glottal sound. And we end up we have 10,622 combination in Cantonese, including all the tones, including all the consonants and vowels. We have 10,620 combinations. And comparing to Mandarin, which is 國語 or 普通話, they have 21 consonants that is without semi-vowels. And vowels in Mandarin, we have 39 vowels/vowels combination. The one distinct trace or characteristic is that Mandarin have three sets of consonants related to teeth consonant or dental consonants, which are 鸡, 踢, 西, 知, 吃, 思, and 知, 吃, 是, 日. So they are different positions where your tongue will put. 鸡, 踢, 西 is the tip of your tongue will touch your teeth. 知, 吃, 是, which is your tongue will touch your alveolar ridge area. And 知, 吃, 是, 日, kind of you are swallowing the tongue a little bit, you would do that at the back of your tongue. But when you listen to Taiwanese chorus sing Mandarin, they would be doing less distinguished in those three sets of combination. And add up in Mandarin, we have 3,276 combinations of word sound that we can create, including all the tones, vowels combinations, and consonants. And that leads us into another question, which is the how easy it is to have the same pronunciation with this one word meaning. And in the early 20th century, this poet Jiu Yunyam, he write a poem that in the poem itself it only used SHI to be the only pronunciation or the volume in the poem. And this one called Sisi Sisi, which is lion eating poet in the stone den. And I would like to play this. It's only 30 something second videos. And use here how subtle the tone is, but also it can cause a lot of confusion when we're speaking Mandarin. It's kind of like the buffalo, 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 in English.
是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是是 事实是事实，事实事实是事实，事实是事实是事实，事实实施是事，事实是实施是事实是，实事实事实是事实是，实事实事实是实事实施，实实实实是实施是实实实施是是是是是。
So that like create like a lot of like subtlety, like you can hear those. And oh, we don't need to talk about this right now. This is very advanced. Okay. Oh. So now you kind of know the like basic understanding about Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese Chinese. You know a little bit of the language characteristic itself and how different they can be. And if you, oh by the way, if you are speaking this poem in Cantonese, because we include the entering tone or the unreleased sound, which is the K, P, and T, you will see like it will be more understandable to be read in Cantonese. So, after this, I would like to talk about the development of Mandarin Chinese choral music, and then later on we'll talk about like Cantonese Chinese choral music. So this is like a very generalized how Mandarin Chinese choral music evolved throughout the years. So at first, in the late 19th century to early 20th century, a lot of Chinese, mainland Chinese, they will like study overseas, study abroad, and the government will pay for that. And we have couples composer that study Western music and theory, and I will like introduce them in the coming slides. And then when they get back to China, they start like gathering all the folk songs, and then they start like making like folk song arrangement, and they use like westernized theory and like composition technique, and then put it into Chinese choral music. And I'm going to share with you in the coming slide. After that, we will start seeing like a rising of like choral singing in China, and chorus start commissioned composer compositions. Also, like those composers who come back from overseas, they will start like composing like art songs that written in Chinese language, Mandarin Chinese language. So we have those like sort of like choral music in the, I would say like 1930s to 1940s. And recently, because of the rising of the a cappella culture in Taiwan, and also we're trying to get people to understand that choir singing is not high art. So composer also start like doing like pop song arrangement, and we will see each category, we will hear one specific songs, so that you will kind of hear some trade in Mandarin Chinese choral music. So this one was composed or arranged by Wang Yaodai under the silvery moon, and this is a folk songs in the Tatan, in the northern Chinese like ethnic group. And I put the lyrics right here. And one thing I have to point out is that Wang Yaodai, this composer right here, he dedicated all his music to public domain before he passed, and all the music can be freely shared, copied, and performed. And this music is roughly around 4 minutes. And you will see he was written it in a strophic form, not strophic, sorry, was written it in a A, B, A, B, and he will go to minor and then go back to A. So A, B, C, A form. Here we go. And then we will go with same text right here in minor mode. Oh no. Hang on. So you can hear the composition itself is very like westernized. It's not like what we will consider what Chinese music is. And because this Wang Yaodai, he also studied like overseas. So he bring back the Western music theory back to mainland China, and he composed this composer Wang Ji, also a composer that studied in Oberlin University in Ohio. Later on, he studied in Yale University. He studied like Western music theory and compositions. And then later on, he go back to China, and but he died at age 34. And this poem right here is by Ba Geyi, which is a poet from the Tang Dynasty. The whole poem itself only consists of 26 words, and the translation is right here. So that will lead us to a very interesting conversation later on, which is, do we have lyrics first approach, or do we have music first approach? And here we have the lyric first approach when composing music, and we will dive into that discussions later on. And I will just play this a little bit so that you kind of know, oh, how this works. So that's the whole poem right there, and I want to stop. By the way, this work before Wang Ji, the composer, put this choral arrangement out, he composed that as the art song first. So this is from an art songs and then for solo singers, and then later on he rearranged it to a choral piece. And this composer, he just passed. And Eric Liu, Lao Sensing, is a composer who reside in Taiwan before he passed recently. And this poem here is a new poem, which is very different from the Tang Dynasty poem or Song Dynasty poem. Those are considered as the old poem. This new poem here, this word is 與此愛你, which means I wish I could love you like that. And we will listen like one through. This is this piece was written for SATB, and here you go. And the lyric itself very pretty, and you will see some like pop song trade in here. Oop. So the second half of this song, it will go back to the beginning. So we are not going to play that. I'm going to share this PowerPoint with Mr. Han after this lecture, and he will share this PowerPoint with you. And the last one, which is a pop songs arrangement. Now we are toward the end of Mandarin choral music, and we would like drive our real to Cantonese choral music. This one was composed by Zhap Tinho, and this song's Sam Dong is Cantonese is a Mandarin pop songs, and this Taipei chamber singers, they commissioned this composer to rearrange for a cappella chamber ensemble. And we will listen to this a little bit so that you can hear some like pop song tray and how composer written that in a like how they can like take the pop song and then put it into a cappella. So you can hear in this piece, this was sung by, this is a pop song by a Taipei composer, and then like they put it into like a cappella arrangement, and you can hear like a lot of time in Chinese choral music because of the tone restriction. Sometimes composer is very hard to form a harmony based on the word that in the certain tone. So they will use a lot of focal bow to make that works. And we will talk about that when we are talking about Cantonese choral music in the coming slides. Cantonese choral music have more restriction because we have more subtlety in tones, and that makes problems that we lead. That is the problem why Cantonese choral music started very late, very recently. And I would say Cantonese Chinese choral music only developed in the last 10 years, 15 years. And it was started by like putting pop songs arrangement together. And then after that, like because of pop songs sometimes is so hard to, you know, like do all the publishing. You have to talk to like the publisher, you have to talk to the original composer, you have to talk to the lyricist. Yes, we have composer and lyricist in Cantonese music. And then those composers start turning their wheel to folk songs arrangement. And then later on, because of the rising localization, I would say, or the zeitgeist of like preserving the Cantonese language, a lot of chorus in Hong Kong, they commissioned work for choral ensemble in Hong Kong. We will talk about those in the later slide. But I want to play you, like, it's kind of like if you like a reverse development of what we saw in Mandarin. Mandarin, we start with folk songs and then commission work and pop song. In Cantonese, we start with pop song, folk songs, and then go to more like a artsy artist compositions. And these songs right here, I will play a little bit only. This is kind of like one of the early pop song arrangement that on the stage performed by the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And this originally is a 1984 Canton pop song sung by Danny Chen, and lyricist is Richard Lam, Lam Zhankang. And this composer right here is Joseph Gu Gafai composed these songs. And you can hear very energetic way to start. So you can hear, like, in this arrangement, because of the difficulties of Cantonese tone, like, is, as a tonal language, has a lot of subtleties, and we have a lot of tones. And for composer or arranger, it's so hard for them to put, like, harmony underneath the melody. So sometimes they will put, like, unison, and sometimes they will put, like, focal in the background so that they can form harmony. Yes, this is one of the pieces that I think you watched. And next one, which is very interesting. This women's choir, they just formed in the, I think, like in the last 5 years. Chen Feiyang, which is like a composer, pop song composer, and they cross over with women's, like, he start, like, have this, like, project with, like, women's choir. And this songs right here, it was composed by Chen Feiyang in like the early 20s. early 2000, and he and then put it in women's choir, and this gives us another taste of what Cantonese pop song is, and they consider as a Cantonese pop songs group, and they have like 20 or around 20 to 30 members, and sometimes they have 3 parts, and you will hear sometimes the word was like singing in a harmony, but in our ears sometimes it's not quite right. The tone itself is not quite right.
寧願滯留在此處，寧願叫時間終止，我不會再信未來，我不要再看歷史，還能活才是諷刺，故此。
Oh, what did I do? Sorry.
還能活才是諷刺。故此不用做傻事，讓痛苦輪迴千次，彰顯那快樂有盡時，曙光全部熄滅，殺掉我影子，我只能獨處，背後全沒有支柱，什麼叫絕望？抬起眼望望。在你面前情堂隨便收看，靈魂被抽乾，殘留着軀幹，從此與未了緣同存亡地老天荒，還不夠絕望，尚可更絕望，留給我日後用來形容前面境況，能夠這樣謝謝你幫忙，將更有願望到風光凝坐。
So you can maxly hear you can hear three parts, but some of the inner parts they don't have like a right tone, and in our ears it doesn't match the tone, which leads us to another question. Why Cantonese choral music developed so only developed recently? That's caused, I would say, 3 main reason. One is the stigma for composer misplacing words with a wrong tone, which due to the Cantonese tonal nature. And the second point is there are a side guides that developed in the past 10 years about preserving Hong Kong cultures and language, which is Cantonese. So people start commissioning and choral groups start think about how can we have our own music instead of just singing English choral music, foreign languages choral music, Mandarin choral music. Can we have our own music? And the last thing I would say is it's lack of publishing companies in Hong Kong. Composer who compose those music who can either self-publish themselves or publish only through Hong Kong Composer Guide. And because of that, composing music is not that profitable. And if you're composing Chinese choral music, Cantonese choral music, which they are leading to a very narrow market, which they probably cannot make a lot of profit from that. So that keep the composer away from touching Cantonese choral music in the past. But this composer Yin I would say he is the pioneer of composing original Cantonese choral work. And this piece was commissioned by the Hong Kong Children's Choir. And I would say Hong Kong Children's Choir is the pioneer of creating Cantonese choral music, because they believe, of course, a lot of children's choir, they believe in mother tongue teaching. And here, this piece is kind of their organization songs for Hong Kong Children's Choir. And we will listen to beginning of that. But you can hear in here, this composer mentioned this piece is a lyrics first approach composition, and we will talk about lyrics first and music first approach in the coming slide. So this is like this was composed in like late 2000s, and you can hear like most max is like 2 parts only, and then later on he used, I think I will play the rest of it. He used like descant on top, and then he used kind of like a fugal section, and that is how composer overcome the Cantonese tonal language nature challenges for composer. Oh, sorry. Focal bow here. And now that leads us to another questions. You hear like couples Cantonese songs, and you compare it with like Mandarin choral music. Mandarin choral music is more like art song, like it's not really like pop music that we hear nowadays. But you might ask, like, why like some of the Cantonese choral music sounds like pop songs? This question lead us to a new round, which is is it a lyrics first approach, 先詞後曲 composition approach, or music first, 先曲後詞 approach? And also, you have to know, like at the beginning of this lecture, we talk about like how many tone in Cantonese language, and that really restrict composer how they write the melody. So composer Yin, the one that I just played for you, I was in his like seminar 2 years ago. He is a renowned Hong Kong composer, and he said like due to the tonal nature of Cantonese and Mandarin, sometimes he will like take the lyrics first approach. So he will like take the lyrics, read that couple times to find out like what is the characteristic of the poem and what is the atmosphere that the poem try to portray. And then he will divide all the lyrics into like a different sections, and he will put the most important part as the chorus so that he can like revisit that in the music. And then he'll read it a couple times and then see like how the tone give him like how to write the melody. So this is very interesting like conversation, or like it's a very interesting like ideas that in Western music a lot of time is a lot of composer will just choose some poem that is very meaningful to them. They will put music in it. But in Cantonese choral music or Mandarin choral music, a lot of composer and lyricists, they work very closely so that they can really work together to see if that word have to change to fit the music, or this music note right here or the rhythm have to change to fit the poem itself. So this is a very interesting ideas and approach to Western musical world. And I like in the early slide I shout out some of the composition technique and how they overcome the Cantonese tonal challenges. And these are four way that composer will do. They will use vocal bowl like ooh, ah in the background while they're doing the harmony, and then they have the melody on top. Sometimes they will have fugue, so they will do a melody and then a melody and then a melody sing in different part with different time. Or sometimes they will use a different word in different part to create a chord to make like that make sense, to fit the tone, also fit the harmony. And the last approach is having a dead scan on top, and that's how they how composer overcome that. And I would like to show you before I play the last songs to you, and then we will see if there's any questions in the house. But let me share this with you. Let me see how I can do this. Hang on, give me a second. Share this one. Okay, so this is the last songs that we're going to listen to, and here is a score that published by CU Chorus. CU Chorus is they have their own they start up their own publishing. So this music, oh my gosh, what is going on? Where's my okay, hang on, sorry. Where's my mouse? I can see my mouse. Okay, here you go. Let's try one more time. Okay, wow. Can you see it now? Yes. Oh, but I still cannot find my mouse. I see a chat. Are you giving me... What? Okay, all right. I can show you right now because I cannot find where my mouse is. This is interesting. Another technical difficulty that you will face when you're doing online teaching. For those of you who are teaching online right now, the challenge is real, I will tell you. Okay, can I do this? Okay, now I find it. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So, so this work right here, at the beginning, you will see some focal bowl at the beginning to like construct some harmony chord. And then later on, you will hear like a lot of time they will sing in unison or they will sing in like octave apart. And here, right here, you will see that in soprano part they will sing melody while they are singing the lower part, alto, tenor, and bass, to form the harmony that works for the tone. And then later on here, you have a dead scan here, so that they can create more interesting like harmony. And here, that like later on in this music, you can see some of them is still in unison. Some part is still in unison, but in the lower part, usually they will like hold a note, sing less word, so that they can make that works. Because like writing a Cantonese composition is very, very difficult for a lot of composer, and a lot of composers still try not to touch it because like there are a lot of difficulties that they will face. And this leads us to the last songs, and I will just play it for like 1 minute. Here we go. And you will hear that how they overcome the challenge. Oh, where's that? Here. The beginning, which is the unfocable harmony, create an atmosphere. Oh, some of you have already listened to it. This was sung by CU Chorus, Chinese University Chorus. And now you have the lyrics, you have the translation, and you can see, like, oh, some of you said you really like this song. Yeah, it's very pretty, it's very beautiful. And the text itself is very pretty and encouraging too. So I will urge you to look at this translation and go back and listen to the music again. The last things that I want to share with you is how can you navigate Chinese choral music, sheet music online. It's very hard to find music, but here you have like some website that you can like navigate those or allocate those. This is, let me see if I can share this right now. So in English, here you go. So Hong Kong Children's Choir, they self-published some of their choral arrangement, choral music, and they have different books here. So this is by Hong Kong Children's Chorus. And then the next one is, you can go to CU Chorus. They have like a choral series that they put together, and they published all those Hong Kong composer Cantonese music, Mandarin music, and you can send them an email and see if you find like one that you want to share with your group, you can choose those. And you can even listen to it, and then you can like preview the music, which is very useful for a lot of choral conductor. The last one, which is a little bit hard to navigate, which is the, hang on, this website here. This one is only written in Chinese. This is a Taiwanese publisher, and they have a lot of like Mandarin choral music that they published. And the best way I would say for non-native speaker is easier to find someone who knows the language to help you to get access to those Chinese choral music, and help you to allocate and buy the music for you. So, and I will leave my email at the end here, and if you have any before we end this lecture, I would like to see if there's any questions in the house so far. It's a lot of information that I touch and mention.
Yeah, actually I had 2 questions. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. I'm just wondering, so actually you vaguely touched on this, but because the Chinese languages, like the vast majority of them are heavily tonal languages, I was going to ask you how exactly do composers have to work with tone and melody, and I was wondering if you could give like a particular example about how the melodic contour has to follow tone contours, basically. If you could do that, that'd be great.
Well, like, let me see if I can find a... So for example, like one Cantonese folk song, 有隻雀仔跌落水, which means like a bird like dropping into the water. 有隻雀仔跌落水. 有隻, which means like we as composer they will like speak it a couple times. 有隻雀da da da 仔跌落水. That doesn't make sense. But if you can do 有隻雀仔跌落水, that also sometimes doesn't make sense to those like native speaker. Then you will like try to play it on the piano, but you will speak it many times to find a melody that makes sense to you. 有隻雀仔跌落水. So you really need to find the contour, and there's like some YouTube channels they will mention like this associate with like this tone associate with this solfege. And I would recommend you to read one of the books that I have right here, which is like Cantonese A Comprehensive Grammar, written by Stephen Matthew, and he have like chapters about tone, and he said like this Cantonese tone associated with in hertz, like what tone it is really is. And
so what you're saying is that basically like the actual pitch of the notes can be vaguely corresponded to certain tones in Cantonese, there's a vague approximation. Is that what you're saying? Like for instance, like high, like words that have like high, like the high flat tone, like 1 in, or let me load up the romanization system for Cantonese here. So this is really technical, it's probably not worth getting into it, but and I'm getting into like a can of worms here, so
this is opening up to a new realm, This is why I'm really interested in it, and I'm thinking about I'm gonna write a new like Cantonese guideline on those. And I saw another questions, but I would like to have a further conversation with you. Send me an email and we will have a further conversation on those. Yes, I saw another hand in the house.
Yeah, well, it's kind of along the same lines.
Sorry, I don't think we have time for that. And if you have more questions, you can send an email to Joseph because I need some time at the end to talk about next week. Okay, so thank you so much, Joseph, for your wonderful presentation. It was very informative, and I think we all learned a lot from you. So thank you for coming. So let me talk about what you have to do this week. So for this week, you have an assignment. It's a 3-2-1 reflection on Joseph's presentation today. Some of you have already submitted this assignment and you have given a reflection actually on the video, but this was actually intended for today's session. So if you have done that already, you don't have to redo it again this time, but just make sure next time you understand, the requirement of the assignment. If you don't, please ask me, and I'll try to, clarify on the assignment page as well. So next week you will be presenting. Well, some of you will be presenting, and others you will be preparing a handout for the rest of us. So if you are presenting, you have to make a 15-minute presentation on the BIPOC composer that you have been assigned. And I have put you together in groups of 5 already, and I have sent you individual emails so that you have each other's contacts information, so you can talk to each other to put up this presentation together. So you have 15 minutes, meaning that each of you can only have around 3 minutes of speech. So it's not really that long. So please plan for what you have to say and only say things that are really important, and don't overrun, because we have many people presenting next week and we only have so much time. And I suggest that you arrange a meeting among yourselves or via Zoom or any other platforms to really discuss on the logistics and organization of your presentation, and upload the PowerPoint slides to the OneDrive folder that I created. You can find the link on my courses. And if you are doing a handout, it's much easier, just 2-page handout. And I also suggest that you meet with your group mates to discuss on what parts you are talking about, and make sure that your duties don't overlap. And you can actually create a co-editing document on OneDrive or Google Drive where all of you can access at the same time and co-edit, so you don't have to put 5 different documents together at the end. And also upload the document to the OneDrive folder after you are done with that, and it can be a Word document or PDF. Okay, so next week we're actually using the entire 2 hours because we have 6 groups of people presenting. So we'll meet at 9:35 instead of 10. So 9:35 to 11:25. We need that entire time as listed on Minerva. It's our original class time. So wake up early and drink a lot of coffee. And if you have any concerns for the presentation, let me know, email me, and we can set up an office hour tomorrow to talk over it. Okay, so that's it for today, and thank you again, Joseph, for coming in. So I really enjoy seeing your window lighting up as we go, because Joseph is coming from Seattle, so it was 7 a.m. for him. So I'm really appreciative for him waking up so early to speak to us. So thank you so much, and have a very good week, everyone, and see you next time.
I will be staying here for a little bit longer, like 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask.
Good.
Or you have any questions, you can email me. I put it in the chat. And I will send the PowerPoint to Mr. Han, and he will share it with you as well.
It'll be uploaded on my courses, so you can listen back to those excerpts that he played.
Yes, questions? Oh, he just waving to say bye.
Yeah, he just bye.
Just like
my question then. It was similar as the one before, but I just was wondering then, do you think that, or is there evidence that the melodies used in this music are limited based on the tonal requirement? Does that what do you have any, this is hard to put into terms, but do you have any sense of how maybe the theme of a piece would restrict what the melody ends up being because of the words used in the piece? Does
so as I mentioned, that makes sense. As I mentioned, in the old days, I would say in the 1980s, 1990s, the only choral music, Cantonese choral music that you will hear is those hymn that like directly translate to like Cantonese music, and that doesn't make sense to a lot of like native speaker. So that create a stigma that or like a challenges for those composers who try to like get into that realm or that ground, because if you are writing like Cantonese music, a lot of time you will only hear like Cantonese pop music because like you only have to write one line and then put like melody with like put harmony without text underneath. So that is more easier, and because of the tonal language nature is highly restricted, like how the melodies goes or how the contour goes, if that makes sense to you. And as I was talking to Mr. Han like couple days ago, I think, and we were like asking ourselves why we always listen to like the same kind of melody or same kind of like pop song style over and over in Cantonese choral music is highly related to first the Cantonese tonal nature highly restrict the composer creativities on those contour and melody. Second is the stigma that we as listener create. Like Cantonese listener, we are very picky. If you put like a tone, if you put a word that in a wrong tone, we instantly will say that, oh, this music is so bad, we don't want to listen to that anymore. So that might that lead to like, oh, Cantonese, we only have a certain way to write it. If that makes sense to you. Any other questions in the house?
No, it's. I have to leave now. So sorry. Bye. It was just really interesting, though. I really enjoyed it, and I'll probably get into contact with you later just to get more information about this because this sounds really cool. I study a bit of linguistics and I'm into languages, so this was a really interesting discussion for me. Yeah.
This book, get this. This is like the best Cantonese grammar book out there. We never have like Cantonese grammar book, and this is like the first Cantonese grammar book ever. We don't have anything written in Chinese, and this is a very good book to start with if you want
Okay.
to study
Of course.
Cantonese.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone have any questions?
I just have a question for Mr. Han regarding the project due next week. So for the two-page handout, I'm just a bit
Actually, do you
unsure.
sorry?
Yeah,
Actually, do you mind if you stay behind a little bit
sure.
longer so that we have all the questions for Mr. Cho
Yeah,
first, and then I will answer all the
sure.
questions for me. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. Any more question for Mr. Cho before he leaves? Because he has to teach later today. So um, ask away if you have questions. It seems that's all questions for you.
If you, well, just tell your student if they have more questions, they can contact me, and I'm very happy to talk to them about this topics. Anyway, thank you for letting me share my passion, my language, and my culture with your students, Mr. Han. And I will get in
Thank you
touch
for
with you
coming.
soon.
Yes.
All right, I will
Okay.
send the
Have a good
PowerPoint
day.
to you. Have a good
Yeah. Have a
day.
good day of teaching. Have more coffee. Bye bye. Okay. Yes. Shantung.
Oh yeah. So for the two-page handout, I'm just a bit unsure about the format, things like single-spaced or double-spaced, the font size. Are there more specific requirements with regards to those things?
No, I mean I didn't specify because it can be anything. It doesn't matter whether you're using single space or
Okay.
double, as long as you have, all the information you want to let us know within that 2 pages, and you can even include some excerpts of music by that composer. So the idea is because you're not presenting, so when you upload the handout, we can all look at your work at a later stage, and we can learn more about the composer that you assigned. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter as long as you cover enough information on those 2 pages.
Got it.
Any more question for me?
I was just well, it's like if anybody else has anything before me, it's very one-on-one. No. Okay, it's just that I have a class before this that runs consistently over, so I wanted to let you know why I was a couple minutes late today. But that was pretty much it because I
Yeah, no
just
problem.
get out of it. And also
You can actually go back to my courses to watch just the beginning of it. But I think we were kind of navigating some issues in the beginning anyway. So.
And you're just also to confirm that your sound does work now, so that's great. I didn't change anything on my end, but your sound,
Wonderful. I actually reinstalled my Zoom.
Yeah.
I just downloaded the whole thing again, and yeah, I'm glad it worked.
And next week we start because I had emailed you at the beginning of the semester because my other class ends at 9:55, but next week we're starting at 9:35.
Oh yes. Okay. So are you presenting next week, or are you doing handout?
Well, we're sending in videos, right? Our team had spoken to you about that because we have somebody who has Wi-Fi issues, so we're sending in a free.
So are you in Wilhelm's group?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he has told me about it. So yes. Just make sure you have at least one person in the house, and that person can play the video in real time, so we can actually watch it live together. Yeah, that's totally fine. So I don't have to put you later.
No, it's a pre-recorded video because of those issues. So I'm sorry, everyone else, if you guys have questions, just nobody spoke up. But I know this is very personal, only relevant to me. But so that's okay then. That's all good.
Yes, that's all good.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next week. Alex, you have a question?
Oh no, I was just talking to Zentong Wang privately in a chat about the project.
Okay, you can actually set up a private Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, it was just that my group hasn't said anything, and I was just wondering if it's normal that nobody started any work at all in it.
Oh, so you have to start it. You are the person to initiate everything.
Yeah.
Well, they need a kick. Yeah, it's okay. I need to talk to Jishan individually about something. Okay, so anyone? Well, Alex and Chelsea, are you here, or are you just somewhere else?
I'm here. I was just waiting to find out which citation style you wanted for the bibliography.
Oh, for the citation, yes. Chicago is fine. Chicago Notes bibliography or author dates. Yeah, anything is fine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. See you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Okay, Chishan. Are you here, Chishan? No, you're not. Oh, you're here. You don't want to speak? Okay, it's okay. I don't think Chelsea is here. Are you here, Chelsea? Or are you just... Yeah, maybe she's not here. So yeah, we can chat if you want to unmute, so we can talk.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Hello.
I think, I just registered in this choir, and this time the format is really different. I thought it was just a thing, but I never think there's too much work. The first question is that, I just registered.
Yeah.
Give me an extension to complete this work.
Yes, of course. Actually, some other students are also joining us later than the starting date. So I made all those assignments available all the time, so you can always go back to a previous week to finish the assignment. And in your case, because you just joined us recently, I'm not jeopardizing you for handing in late assignments. So you can go back to week 1. I think we have an annotation assignment for the Mozart Ave Rerum Corpus. Yeah, if you don't know how to do it, we can talk tomorrow actually during my office hours, because I have something later today, so I have to leave soon. But yes, for all those assignments, always go back and do it, and they're basically like participation. You do it, and then you get the 2 points. So doesn't matter. And the main thing for you is for next week, because we have already assigned people in groups of 5 for the presentation and the handout. So maybe for you, can you just do a handout, just a 1-page handout on your own, since you are not in any group, so I'm not going to put you in a new group. So you can do this assignment on your own, but instead of doing 2 pages, just do 1 page of handout on a what a BIPOC composer is, like people of color and black and indigenous composer. If you don't know any, I can send you some names that you can choose from, or you can choose your own composer and you talk about that person,
So
basically.
I can complete by myself. I don't need to real present in the course.
No, you don't have to present, because I divided the class into 2 groups. So some of them are presenting and some of them are just preparing handouts for the rest of the class. And in the second stage of the final project, well, this is a part of the final project. In the second stage, we'll kind of reverse that role. So those who presented in the first time will do a handout the second time, and vice versa. If you have a handout this time, and do a presentation next time.
I
Okay.
just click your email. You create like a report, and there's I think like specific page, like in the March 16th. It's just a piece, but in next week is the presentation, right?
Next week is the presentation, but for you it's just a handout. For you don't have to do the presentation.
It's
Just a handout, yeah. And because you are not in any group, so you can do it by yourself,
so
and you
just
can choose your own composer, a choral composer,
oral composer.
yeah, who is a BIPOC composer, a black, indigenous, or people of color composer, or also a women composer. Now you can also choose a woman composer as well, but focus on those composers who have written choral pieces. It's not just an instrumental composer, but a choral specific composer.
She
I
says,
can actually give you some suggestions if you don't know who.
is it good? Tandem?
Tandem is good, but actually we are presenting on Tandem. Yeah, so one of the groups are presenting on Tandem already. Let's try another one. Who do you know? Chen Yi?
Sorry, I don't know.
Chen Yi is from China too. Um, you know that person who won a Pulitzer Prize last year? That woman composer. Just she's from China, but she's based in New York right now. I forgot her name. Anyway, any other?
So could you send the name to me?
Yes. Maybe you can work on someone like. We don't have Moses Hogan. We don't. Let's see. Let me check my list and see who I have already, so that we're not like duplicating those composers who are being presented already. Um, oh, I can't find it. Where is it? Sorry. Um, um, okay. Let me share my screen.